Welcome back to the show, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Because with everything that's been happening around the Upbit hack, the suspicious timing, the geopolitical fallout, and the unbelievable amount of money involved, it's worth stepping back and taking a much deeper look at the group that sits behind almost every major crypto attack of the last few years. A group that most people in crypto have heard of, but very few actually understand. A group that is not just another hacking collective, not just another cybercrime outfit, but something far more organized, far more dangerous, and far more strategic. Today, we're talking about the Lazarus Group. Who they are, how they operate, the money they've stolen, why they've never been caught, and most importantly, what it means for every single person listening. Because whether you realize it or not, Lazarus has impacted your portfolio, your exchange, your assets, and your security more than almost any other force in the industry. This is going to be a long one, a proper deep dive, so sit back and let's go all the way to the beginning. The Lazarus Group didn't start out as crypto hackers. In fact, they didn't start out in finance at all. Their origins go back to around 2009 or 2010, inside North Korea's intelligence services. Back then, their operations were very different, focused almost entirely on disrupting South Korean government agencies, media companies, and financial networks. This was a group built for cyber sabotage, not cyber theft. Their goal wasn't money at the time, it was chaos. Crashing news websites, wiping servers, shutting down bank branches, creating panic. The early attacks were crude, noisy, and politically motivated. But as the years went on, their role evolved. North Korea realized something. Cyber attacks were not just a tool for disruption, they were a tool for revenue. In a country heavily sanctioned, cut off from the global financial system, with limited exports and a desperate need for foreign currency, cybercrime became a state policy. Cyber warfare became a business model. The clearest example of this shift came in 2014 during the Sony Pictures hack. Lazarus famously infiltrated Sony's computer systems in response to a movie, a comedy, that mocked North Korea's leadership. This was the attack that put them on the global map. They wiped data, leaked private emails, exposed executives, and completely crippled Sony's infrastructure. It wasn't about money. It was about showing the world that this small, isolated nation could reach deep into the systems of a major American corporation whenever it wanted. But after the Sony attack, North Korea realized something else. If they had the skill to do this kind of damage, they also had the skill to make money doing it. And money was needed, badly. This is when Lazarus transformed from a politically motivated cyber unit into the world's most effective state-sponsored financial hacking force. Their first major financial operation didn't involve crypto at all. It involved the SWIFT banking system, the backbone of international bank transfers. In 2016, the Lazarus Group infiltrated the Bangladesh Central Bank. It remains one of the most ambitious bank heists ever attempted. Their plan was simple on paper. Use the bank's SWIFT credentials to send nearly $1 billion in transfers to accounts in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. They almost pulled it off. Nearly $1 billion, gone with a few lines of code. The only reason the entire sum wasn't stolen was because of a typo. A single spelling mistake flagged the transfer as suspicious, freezing the rest of the funds. Even with that mistake, they still escaped with $81 million. Now imagine the level of sophistication needed to infiltrate a central bank's internal systems, gain access to SWIFT messaging tools, create forged transfer requests, and then route them across multiple accounts in multiple countries. That attack alone proved two things. First, that Lazarus wasn't a normal hacking group. They were operating with the skill level of a military intelligence unit. And second, that North Korea had found a new economic engine. But then crypto happened. And for Lazarus, crypto was a dream come true. Crypto has three things they couldn't get from banks: no borders, no central authority, and no guaranteed reversals. With banks, you can freeze transfers. With SWIFT, you can cancel transactions. With crypto, once the funds move, they're gone. And for a country desperate for foreign currency, this was the perfect target. This brings us into the modern phase of Lazarus, the crypto years. And this is where the numbers get insane. Over the last few years, Lazarus has been linked to the Coincheck hack for over $530 million, the Ronin Bridge exploit for another $615 million, the Horizon Bridge attack for $100 million, the Atomic Wallet breach for around $100 million, and multiple attacks on Upbit, including the $30 million stolen this week. In total, they've taken more than $2.3 billion in crypto. And that's just the confirmed number. The real total is likely higher. What makes this more concerning is that these attacks aren't random. They aren't the work of amateur hackers. They're operations designed with military-level planning. And to understand why they're so effective, you have to understand how Lazarus actually works. Most people imagine crypto hacks as technical breaches, code exploits, 0 days, vulnerabilities in smart contracts or exchanges. And while that sometimes plays a part, the reality is much simpler. Lazarus doesn't primarily hack blockchains. They hack people. Their main tactics are social engineering, phishing, and supply chain infiltration. They don't try to solve the cryptography. They try to trick someone inside a company into opening the door for them. One of their favorite methods is the fake job interview. If you work at an exchange, a blockchain company, or even a Web3 startup, you might receive an email on LinkedIn from someone claiming to represent a big tech company. They'll offer a salary package that looks almost too good to be true. Then they send you a PDF, the offer details. Inside the PDF is malware, and once you open it, your device is compromised. Another method is the Discord or Telegram infiltration. They'll pretend to be admins, developers, community managers. They'll send malicious links disguised as test applications, internal builds, or marketing materials. Once someone runs the file, Lazarus gains access to internal systems. From there, the attack follows the same pattern. They move quietly through the company's systems, gaining more access, more credentials, more control. They don't strike immediately. Sometimes they wait weeks, even months, watching internal behavior, identifying wallet keys, monitoring transaction patterns. When the moment is right, usually during high market activity or a major announcement, they execute. The Ronin Bridge exploit is a perfect example. Most people don't realize this, but Lazarus gained access to 5 of the 9 validator keys that controlled the bridge. And they did it by pretending to be recruiters, interviewing Axie Infinity developers, sending them fake documents, and slowly compromising the entire internal structure. When they finally triggered the attack, it took seconds to move over $600 million. And that brings us to the latest hack, Upbit. The timing here was so precise that it almost looks cinematic. A major South Korean tech company announces a $10 billion acquisition of Upbit's parent company. Huge news, media frenzy, analysts dissecting the deal, lawyers preparing filings. A perfect moment when teams inside Upbit would be distracted, overloaded, and temporarily stretched thin. And hours later, the hack hits. This is Lazarus. They watch, they wait, they strike at maximum disruption. Now let's talk about the question everyone always asks. Why haven't they been caught? Why can't the global community just shut them down? The answer is simple. Lazarus isn't hiding in basements or abandoned apartments. They operate inside North Korea, under government protection, with full immunity. You can't extradite them. You can't send in police. You can't launch a raid. They're beyond reach. And that's not the only challenge. Their infrastructure is constantly shifting across countries like Russia, China, Malaysia, and Eastern Europe. They use compromised servers, hijacked machines, and false identities. Their operations blend criminal tactics with military-grade discipline. They aren't just cyber criminals, they're intelligence officers tasked with funding a government. All of this is fascinating on a geopolitical level, but let's bring it back to the people listening, because this is where the impact becomes personal. Every time Lazarus steals millions, it doesn't just affect the exchange. It affects the entire market. It affects liquidity. It affects sentiment. It affects price. If you're holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, whatever it is, Lazarus has already impacted your portfolio. Every panic sell-off triggered by a hack, every liquidity shock, every exchange security scare, all of it directly hits your assets. When a hack happens, the market doesn't wait for analysis. It reacts instantly. Traders panic, prices drop, liquidity dries up, And while your coin hasn't suddenly become less valuable fundamentally, the market price is in fear. If you're overexposed, leveraged, or emotionally reactive, you take the hit. And here's the part that most people overlook. Lazarus isn't just stealing crypto, they're selling it. Slowly, carefully, through mixers, OTC brokers, privacy routes, and chain-hopping tools. And when they sell, it adds sell pressure to the entire market. Millions siphoned out of protocols, then laundered through dozens of wallets, eventually becoming sell pressure. That constant trickle, week after week, month after month, quietly pushes down prices across the board. And there's another angle as well. Every major hack increases regulatory aggression. Governments panic. Exchanges face new rules. Protocols face new audits. Innovation slows, and the market absorbs the cost. The normal crypto investor doesn't see this directly, but you feel it in your portfolio. Now combine this with the macro environment crypto is already dealing with. Low liquidity, nervous markets, thin order books, high volatility, and then add Lazarus entering the picture with a sudden, unexpected attack. It's the perfect recipe for exaggerated price swings. So why does any of this matter for the everyday investor listening? Because you need to understand where the real risks are. And the real risk is not that Bitcoin gets hacked, or that Ethereum collapses, or that the blockchain fails. The real risk is the infrastructure around crypto, the exchanges, the bridges, the wallets, the validators, the human systems that still hold the keys. Crypto's technology is secure. People are not. And Lazarus knows this better than anyone. So what does this mean for protecting yourself? First, if you're keeping large amounts of crypto on exchanges, you need to understand that you are exposed. Not just to Lazarus, but to every hacker, every insider threat, every breach. The safest place for your assets is always a private wallet, ideally cold storage. Second, diversify your exposure. Bridges are some of the most common hacking targets. Don't rely on a single bridge for all your wrapped assets. Don't leave stacked capital sitting in unaudited protocols. Be smart about where you keep your liquidity. Third, understand that volatility caused by hacks is temporary. It's fear, not fundamentals. The worst thing you can do as an investor is panic sell into a breach-triggered dump. These drops usually reverse once the market stabilizes. And finally, remember that Lazarus is not a crypto problem. Lazarus is a geopolitical problem. Crypto is simply the battlefield they've chosen because it's borderless, fast, and irreversible. The attacks will continue. The scale will grow. And every investor needs to understand the landscape. So as we move forward in this episode series, we'll keep tracking these hacks, the patterns behind them, and the impact they have across the crypto markets. And as always, the goal is not to scare you, it's to prepare you. Knowledge is protection. Awareness is defense. And the more we understand the forces operating behind the scenes, the better we can navigate the volatility they create. Drop your thoughts in the comments, leave a 5-star rating if you haven't already, and like always, we'll see you at the top.